welcome to my channel on the best of fantasy. This is the week that was, and boy do I have a lot of news to share with all of you. Beginning with the publishing news, so probably most of you have noticed that things are all set for the publication of my first book, The Way of Edan. I have gotten to the point where it's become a bit surreal. It's pretty amazing, actually, to be here finally after working on this for 18 years or so. Actually, over 18 years now. So yes, the ebook is available for pre-order. If you go to Amazon, you write Philip Chase, you will see the ebook there. You will not see the paperback yet. It will be there on or before the March 21 release. And by the way, for the ebook as well, if you do pre-order it, you will get it on the 21st. But yes, so the physical book will appear, I promise, and I have not quite fine control over exactly when it appears. I have to basically submit the final version, and then it goes live, and they say it can take around 72 hours for that, so they're not very precise. So I will make sure that I do that final step in the process well before the 72 hours before the 21st. So it might actually appear even earlier than the 21st. I would rather have it appear earlier than later. So there you are. There are the updates as far as the timing, and it's going to be really amazing to hear what any of you who might want to read the book think about it. So, in fact, here I have just received, I thought I would show you this, a proof. So I don't know if you can see that very well, but there is a band across the middle there. But this is a proof of The Way of Edan, book 1 of the Edan Trilogy. I'm very excited. So you probably all saw the cover reveal I did earlier. Here it is. Here is the actual thing I'm holding in my hands. It's pretty much identical to what you would get if you ordered the physical copy, except that this has this band that says not for resale. It's a proof, and I've been looking it over, and I need to finish doing that to make sure everything is right in here. But it looks good. It looks good, and I think we're going to be all set for that March 21 release. So, and I also have sent out some ebook ARCs to some really wonderful, kind folks who have agreed to read The Way of Edan, and I will be eagerly anticipating their thoughts. I will not be commenting on any straightforward reviews, whether they're positive or negative or whatever. I just want to leave people their space for that. But if anybody does want to get into a discussion with me about the book, I'm more than happy to do that. And also, just for the people who are curious about the audiobook, that is going to be done by Alan from the Library of Alexandria. That is definitely on schedule. Alan has been reading the book, so he's been preparing himself. And that is going to be something that we hope to have available for you by the end of the summer. So Alan and I are going to be working together a fair amount, I think, over the summer on this project. I'm very excited for the audiobook. And what else? Oh, a little bit of really cool news, cool to me anyway. Mark Lawrence, the author Mark Lawrence, released a review on Goodreads of The Way of Edan. I was absolutely thrilled to hear what he had to say about the book in that review. So check out his review on Goodreads. And I've also been working on my own little author profile on Goodreads, so hopefully that'll be up and running in the near future as well. So yes, I will officially appear as an author on Goodreads in the near future. Yeah. So, and lots of fun stuff on the channel as well. I had a discussion, our final, for the moment anyway, until the next books come out, discussion on Vinland Saga with Murphy. I had a great time chatting with her about the 12th, or the part of the 12th and the 13th book in the series. And now Murphy and I have moved on to Vagabond, and we have actually released 3 discussions already, and we have recorded the 4th, and we will be continuing with Vagabond until we finish. I think it's 12 of the bind-ups are out. But yeah, we do 3 volumes at a time, because usually there are 3 volumes in one of those bind-ups. And we've been having a great time discussing Vagabond, which is getting better and better and better. I'm starting to understand the love for that manga. It's pretty good stuff. Really great incorporation of themes, a lot of action, fantastic art. And I also love the spiritual aspects of this. There's a lot of Buddhism that is injected into the story as well. So that is something that's really resonating with me. And I had a couple episodes of Dear Dr. Fantasy, one with Thiago Abdallah, the author of the ongoing Ashes of Avarin series. I'm pretty sure I just mispronounced that. Sorry, Thiago. But what a great fellow and wonderful member of our community as well. A Touch of Light is the first book, and I have read and reviewed that. I have in my possession the second book, A Shade of Madness, and I'm looking forward to reading that in the future. Also had a great time chatting for Dear Dr. Fantasy with Evie from She Was Only Evie. What a wonderful discussion. Getting some great insights from her, talking some Robin Hobb, lots of love for Robin Hobb in that one. And also lots of discussion of the classics, which Evie is a big fan of. And also had an episode with Angela from Literature Science Alliance. And just, wow, it's so wonderful how many really smart, really wonderful, nice people we get to interact with here. And Angela, it was a delight to talk with. We talked about science fiction and fantasy and actual science as well in the course of that discussion. So really great time on all the episodes of Dear Dr. Fantasy. I released a couple of reviews as well. One of The Golden Fool, that's the second book in the Tawny Man trilogy, and I'm reading Tawny Man along with Mike over at Mike's Book Reviews as part of our read of The Realm of the Elderlings this year. And we're some discussions on those as well. I'll talk about that in a bit. And I also released a review of Shadow of the Torturer. And that's another one I'm in a discussion series on. That's, by the way, Shadow of the Torturer is Gene Wolfe's book. It's the first in the Book of the New Sun, which is divided into 4 parts. Although it's really all one story, but it is divided into a tetralogy. So yeah, good stuff. Really, as far as Golden Fool goes, I just cannot believe how much I love Robin Hobb's writing. She is already among my top 3 favorite authors of all time, and I keep finding her books are resonating with me even more and more. Just the emotional impact is tremendous and so beautiful. Just these are beautiful books as well. There's a lot of suffering and a lot of pain in there too, but oh my goodness, so elevating I find her stories. And of course with Gene Wolfe, it is famously a book of the New Sun, where you feel pretty lost when you first read Shadow of the Torturer. It is one for cogitating upon, and while you read and after. And I am fairly lost and enjoying myself in the process. Sometimes it's good to get lost, right? But I do find it a little bit challenging, and that's great. And I'm looking forward to continuing in that series. So I also had a map reveal, going back to my books. I had the map reveal for the Edan Trilogy, and I really like how it's come out here in my proof copy. Yeah. And that was something that I owe my great deal of thanks to Jack Shepard, who did just a tremendous job on the map. I'm so delighted with it. Just feel like I look at this and I feel immediate immersion in this world that I have created, so I have a slight advantage there. But boy, I really love the map. I always knew I would want a map, and I feel like I got the best possible one. And I also did the cover reveal for The Way of Edan. And again, Jack did a tremendous job as the cover designer. And so a lot of what you see is really thanks to Jack here. He did a really, really beautiful job. One of the best decisions I made was to ask Jack to help me out on all of this. And of course, the artist did a fantastic job. Kira Gregory did a wonderful job on this. I'm just so pleased with how this came out. I actually had the idea to make the cover an imitation of a stained glass window. And I particularly was interested in the stained glass windows designed by Edward Burne-Jones in the 19th century. And Edward Burne-Jones is associated with the Pre-Raphaelites, the sort of neo-Gothic stuff, the 19th century medievalism that I studied as part of my dissertation. He was very close friends with William Morris, the chap that I wrote my dissertation on. In fact, he designed the stained glass windows for William Morris's company, which specialized in, among other things, stained glass windows and furniture and a lot of stuff harkening back to the Middle Ages. So it was a nod in a way from my part to people who have been a big part of my life, a lot of my studies, a lot of my passion. And William Morris was a big inspiration for J.R.R. Tolkien as well. Well, Morris wrote the prose romances of the 1890s that would go on to inspire J.R.R. Tolkien to do a lot of what he ended up doing in Middle-earth. So yeah, so lots of little nods in that sense going on there. Also, I want to give a big shout out to Ravnskjold for the music that was part of the cover reveal video. What a really generous person. Ravnskjold just reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to use a piece that I've composed for something like a book trailer? And I had a cover reveal in mind, so that's what it turned out to be. But wow, it's just such a generous gesture on his part, and I couldn't be more pleased with how the music really created the atmosphere of that cover reveal video. I thought he did just a tremendous job with that. And I encourage you to check out his channel. I will, of course, have a link in the description, but he's got all kinds of music that he has composed, original compositions, and any of you who might be thinking about finding some great music for your videos, if you're a creator, I would encourage you to take a look at his Patreon. I believe that he has some options in there, and he might be working on something very interesting in the near future in terms of providing music to content creators here on YouTube. So that is something I might be talking about more in the future as I learn more. And I had a live stream celebration celebrating 20,000 subscribers, all of you beautiful people. And it was a wonderful time. AP Canavan from A Critical Dragon came over to help me out with that because I do find it a little hard to pay attention to the comments and talk at the same time. So AP was very generous with his time and also put up with a lot during the live stream. A lot of ribbing from not only me, but a few of the people in the chat. So yeah, but it was a lot of fun. I think we all had a great time there. And it was great to celebrate with you all. Lots to celebrate here. All of the subscribers and the publishing stuff and everything else. So elsewhere, I was in a chat on a Game of Thrones on Joanna's channel. That was a lot of fun. There was a great group of people there. Had a great time with Theo from Rekindled Reader and Overly Average Ben and Grace Dion and Jack as well. So yeah, we had a really great discussion that Joanna did a marvelous job hosting. I was also in a discussion with AP on his channel, A Critical Dragon, on Gardens of the Moon, looking at it retroactively sort of after finishing the entire series and putting things in context, which is an interesting discussion. It's a slightly different discussion than just talking about Gardens of the Moon by itself in a spoiler fashion. So that's a video that you should only watch if you've read the Malazan Book of the Fallen. But it is a series that you realize a lot of things fall into place when you get to the end of it. And these things can change how you view what happened in the earlier books in some fairly significant ways. So it was a really cool discussion with AP, who was doing an ongoing series of videos on the various books of the Malazan Book of the Fallen in the context of what we learn in Book 10. So it's really very cool stuff, I think. I love what he's doing there. And also, I contributed to a video that Tori from Tori Talks put together called Dear Writers. Essentially a bunch of writers contributing their thoughts about how to persevere. If you're a writer out there who's giving it a try and you ever feel down, that's a beautiful video to watch. It's a really moving, wonderful video that Tori put together. And I had my little 30 seconds in there. But wow, there's just a bunch of really great people who contributed to that. And very inspiring, I would say. And also, well, let's talk about what I'm reading. So I actually finished reading Senlin Ascends by Josiah Bancroft. What a great time. I have some thoughts on this. I'm going to release a dedicated review, a non-spoiler one, but I'm also going to be in a chat on this one with another great group of people. It's going to include Ben from Overly Average Ben and Grace Dion and Alan from the Library of Alexandria, of course, because Alan loves this series, as everyone knows. And also, we're going to have another library YouTuber, and that would be Library of a Viking. So we're going to have Alan from the Library of Alexandria. We're going to have two libraries present during our discussions of the books of Babel. So we're beginning with Senlin Ascends. That's going to be on my channel. We are recording that in the near future, and I'm very excited for that discussion to take place. I also read A Wizard of Ursi as part of a series of discussions that I'm having with my buddy Glenn and a friend of his, Bill, and that's going to appear on their co-owned channel. So I will announce that when that appears. But I'm going to be talking about the Ursi series with these fellas. And I'm really, we had our discussion already recorded of A Wizard of Ursi. And I'm going to be continuing. This is very nostalgic for me. Ursula Le Guin is one of my formative influences, right up there, close to Tolkien. I would say that the two of them are probably the most influential in terms of my own writing. But I just love Le Guin's Wizard of Ursi. It's like coming home for me. There's so much beauty in that book. It's such a wonderful meditation for me to return to that. And I'm looking forward to continuing in that series. And I have just started today, in fact, as I'm recording this, I just started reading Jade City, the first book of the Greenbone Saga. I'm going to be discussing this one with another great group of people, Jimmy from the Fantasy Network and Taylor from Made Between the Pages and Bookborn. So I've reached out to them to schedule. It's a little bit tricky with all the time zones. These time zones are really spread out, but I hope we'll be able to get together and discuss this. So far, I am enjoying what I'm seeing. I'm not very far in, though. I just started today. So that is going to be an interesting one. I hear a lot of love for this trilogy. So I'm looking forward to seeing what it's all about. And then I will be continuing, of course, my Vagabond Read with Murphy. And we are going to be recording soon book 5. That's going to be on her channel. I'm doing the even ones and she's doing the odd ones. So that's how that works. So she has 1, 3, and she's going to have 5 when we discuss it. And I have already released 2. We've recorded 4, so that will be out on Tuesday after you guys see this. So I'm very excited for that. And of course, I have to keep continuing reading in the realm of the Elderlings. I am now on Fool's Fate. I have a ton of anticipation for this read, everybody. I cannot wait to finish the Tawny Man trilogy. I have heard such wonderful things about Fool's Fate. It is a favorite for a lot of Realm of the Elderlings fans. So I loved the first 2 books of Tawny Man, so I'm kind of shivering with expectation here for Fool's Fate. I think it's going to be one of the most, hopefully, significant reads of the year. We shall see, but I'm really excited for that. It's definitely a Hob year for me, and I am very into it. And as I said before, I'm going to be discussing all of these. I'm going to read along with Mike, but we're also chatting about each of the various trilogies and the one tetralogy in the Realm of the Elderlings with Madison Goodyear and Scott the Bald Booktuber and Jake Bishop. Jake, do not skip Live Ship Bishop. So we are having a great time with those. In fact, our next discussion on Live Ship, we are not skipping Live Ship. Our next discussion, our group discussion, is scheduled for St. Patrick's Day. So I propose that we all should wear green for that one. I have a green tweed jacket that I will be sporting, and I hope the others will live up to their obligations in that respect. You've got to celebrate St. Patty's Day, right? So that is something to look forward to, and it's of course going to be on Mike's channel. And I think it's going to be a live stream. So the evening of St. Patrick's Day, that's a Friday, probably late-ish, like 8 or so, 8:30 maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen the time yet, but that's a heads up. And of course, I'm continuing with my read of A Book of the New Sun, which I am collaborating once again. Look at all these. I must be crazy. Look at all these collaborations I'm in. I am chatting about each of the books in The Book of the New Sun with Matt from Matt on Books, and with a scholar of fantasy, a fellow doing his PhD, not a booktuber, but a fantasy scholar named Paul Williams. We already had our first discussion on my channel of Shadow of the Torturer, so Claw of the Conciliator. That discussion is going to be on Matt's channel when we get there. So that is something I'm continuing. And of course, I'm going to continue with the Ursi books as well. Tombs of Atuin is up next. So there you go. That's all the reading I'm doing. and a lot of the collabs as well. Those are all the collabs I think that I'm in at the moment. And I'm loving all of them. So upcoming other things, more episodes of Dear Dr. Fantasy. I'm very excited to be talking with Karina, a German booktuber who I've been friends with since pretty much near the beginning of my channel. And she does do her videos pretty much all in German, and my German comprehension isn't the greatest. I can read it okay. I have a hard time following the speech unless people talk very slowly. But she is a really wonderful human being, and very much looking forward to chatting with her for Dear Dr. Fantasy. And then Kate, the literary apothecary, is another one that I am excited to talk with for Dear Dr. Fantasy. And Mark Lawrence, the author. Yes, the author, who is also a booktuber of a sort. He has a YouTube channel. I don't know if he calls himself a booktuber or not, but I have an episode of Dear Dr. Fantasy scheduled with Mark Lawrence. This is something of a very cool thing, I think, because Mark Lawrence has kind of been open about the fact that he doesn't really love doing video talks and discussions and that sort of thing. But I think he started his channel in an effort to, partly at least, become more comfortable with that sort of thing. And so, lucky me, I get to be the first person to have a chat with him. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about the Dear Dr. Fantasy episode with Mark Lawrence. He also had already announced this on his channel. So that is going to be something fun. And by the way, if you haven't checked out his channel, it is really cool. If you're interested in writing, in the ins and outs of writing, he does these amazing videos where he gives all kinds of writing advice. He takes a look at the openings of books. He has some great insights to share. I mean, the guy is successful for a good reason. He knows what he's talking about, and I really enjoy his writing videos a lot. So that is something to check out if you're not aware that Mark Lawrence has a channel here on YouTube. And I also will be in a discussion of a Jenny Wirtz novella called The Gallant. And I'll be talking about that with Jenny herself and Joanna and P.L. Stewart. That is something that's going to be happening late in March. So heads up on that one. And yeah, The Gallant, by the way, is in the same world as Wars of Light and Shadow, I believe, and might be a great introduction to that. And speaking of which, Wars of Light and Shadow, I do hope to be returning to that series relatively soon. I cannot say exactly when because we haven't had our discussion yet on Curse of the Mistwraith, but I do anticipate that it will be happening. So there you have it. All the stuff that I'm up to, all the publishing news, all the collaborations, and all the fun. And I want to thank you all for being part of it. That's it for me for now. Until next time.